Thank you, Heidi. Welcome to all of you from the Access Portsmouth team. We're so pleased to be part of this webinar. I'm Ann Weidman. I'm here with Todd Hanson. We're colleagues at JSA Inc. We're a New Hampshire-based architecture and interior design firm, and we specialize in healthcare, senior living, and higher education. Our topic today, accessibility in your community. So what makes us such experts? Well, it's this. Todd's a healthcare architect who lives with a neurological disease called PLS. Throughout his career, Todd prided himself on being client-focused, sometimes actually packing a suitcase and moving into a healthcare facility to observe the sounds and smells and the rhythm of the staff and the patients in order to find the best design solution. As a decades-long resident of Portsmouth, Todd has also always been deeply involved in the community. Over the past 8 years, Todd went from running marathons to using a cane, then a walker. For the past 4 years, Todd has used a wheelchair for mobility and an iPad for speech. So how well does Todd fit into our population? Well, let me pause for a moment and make a point to say that when it comes to human beings, there's no such thing as normal. There never has been and there never will be. We come in all shapes and sizes, large and small, young and old, fit and frail. The Center for Disease Control tells us that 22% of adults in the United States live with some form of disability. The most common is mobility impairments, defined as having serious difficulty walking or climbing stairs. That equates to over 45 million people living with mobility impairments, and that figure is going to skyrocket with our rapidly aging population. The social and economic impacts will be crippling, excuse the pun, if we're not extremely proactive in addressing this need right now. Portsmouth, New Hampshire is a charming historic waterfront community with a population of 21,000. Tourists love us. We're loaded with restaurants and really cool outdoor attractions. In the summer, it's busy here, really busy. Using his wheelchair, Todd became frustrated at the difficulties navigating his once familiar town. There were challenges to accessibility everywhere. He found a few wins, restaurants with good entries and accessible interiors. So about 1.5 years ago, Todd asked me to help him put up a blog documenting accessibility in Portsmouth so he could share his findings. It turns out it was a pretty timely idea. And together we've created this big initiative called Access Portsmouth. We work with business owners. We take a look at the entry, the interior, and the restrooms, and where should you park? We've evaluated over 100 restaurants and attractions in Portsmouth, and we've pinned them onto an interactive Google map. This map is conveniently provided online by the very smart folks at Google. All we had to do was customize it with our own data. Click on a name or a map pin, and Google displays the accessibility data that we've inputted and automatically links to the website associated with the business. Thank you, Google. That's pretty perfect. We have a mobile app in the works. We're hoping to roll that out in 2018. During the summer of 2017, we found a way to scale up, and that was really important to us. Our overall goal is to raise awareness where it's lacking, inspire a spirit of inclusiveness, and influence other communities to do the same throughout New England and beyond. We entered into an alliance with the University of New Hampshire, and we became a 2-credit public health nursing project. We provide training and ongoing support right in our JSA office to teams of nursing students. Under our supervision, these students are collecting and mapping accessibility data in New Hampshire towns and cities. As of December of 2017, we've expanded to include 5 Seacoast communities with plans for at least a dozen more in 2018. Business owners and managers have come to recognize accessibility as an economic driver, and we are embraced by our local Chamber of Commerce. Summer brought a shift to our focus. What about the streets and the sidewalks? We earmarked Portsmouth's top 9 outdoor attractions, and we created a route connecting them, assessing the sidewalks, the curb cuts, and the outdoor furniture usability. We've dubbed it the Walk and Roll. It's wheel-friendly for wheelchairs and baby strollers, as well as comfortable with easy footing for all. Our local hotels love it. They hand this out to everyone. We recruited testers from a local brain injury support center, people living with a wide variety of mobility challenges. They spent a day and they explored every part of this route. They came back with a long list of suggestions. We modified the route to accommodate their needs. We particularly loved this suggestion. A new waterfront park had no option for wheelchair seating at picnic tables. We asked the city if they could remove a seat, and they did. It was a very small victory for wheelchair users, but a hugely empowering one. Sometimes you just need to ask the right person. We've been all over New England speaking to organizations about inclusion and accessibility and universal design. And it's been full of adventures, these unfamiliar cities. Our learning curve has included Portland, Maine, and Boston, and New London, Connecticut, along with many small towns in between. We have navigated missing curb cuts, blocked sidewalks, lack of designated parking, grade changes. We survived towns where rolling in the street is safer than navigating the sidewalk. There were white knuckle moments. I've learned from Todd that if you know what to expect, you can plan ahead and avoid the pitfalls that can derail your outing for you, your companions, and your family. I'm passing the mic over to Todd. He's the hands-on specialist on the impediments we find regularly on the streets and the sidewalks. And remember, Todd speaks using an app on his iPad. It's the technology that keeps him connected to the rest of us. Here's Todd.
Hello, everybody. I've learned to see the world from a completely different perspective the last several years, so let me quickly share a little vision from where I now sit. Old historic towns, like ours, love brick sidewalks. Nothing looks as quaint and as historically appropriate as brick pavers, but they require constant upkeep. Frost and tree roots are continually trying to heal and settle the bricks. I used to be a runner, and the bricks my town selected get slippery underfoot when wet, so I see runners in the street whenever it rains. Cobblestones are the absolute worst for obvious reasons, but even well-maintained concrete sidewalks can produce hazards. What seems to be a slight heave in a sidewalk joint can have significant consequences when using a walker or a wheelchair. I had a joint just like this on a dark downhill slope that launched me from my chair and sent me to the emergency room. I refer to myself as a crash test dummy when these things happen. Sideways sloping sidewalks are dangerous for wheelchair users. I always fight tipping over, and gravity turns the chair downhill toward a curb. You should note that sidewalks can't be interrupted by the accessible curb cuts. Forcing a wheelchair down the ramp from the side is a crash waiting to happen. Of course, I constantly encounter sidewalks blocked by trash cans, recycling bins, overgrown plants, and cars. The only choice is leaving the sidewalk and moving into the street. Storm grates pose a hazard for the front casters. This is a particularly challenging time of year for anyone with impairments. Plow trucks like to take advantage of empty handicap parking spots to store snow, and finding a cleared path through the snow and ice is always an adventure. But blending and accessibility can and should be both functional and aesthetically pleasing. This ramp here in Portsmouth, for example, is used by families with baby strollers and practically everyone when ice and snow make the stairs risky. These are great examples of inclusive walkable paths outside of a town. This one on the left is in southwestern New Hampshire. It's 3 beautiful miles of fully accessible trails that are enjoyed by people of all abilities. The photo on the right is an accessible boardwalk on Great Bay, just a couple miles from downtown Portsmouth. More and more of these are being created across the country, especially with the Rails to Trails initiative that is converting abandoned railroad lines into recreational walking paths.
Todd and I love hearing from people everywhere. We get calls from all around the country to give people advice on how to do this in their communities. We have an online toolkit of resources, and we can help you take a look at your own town. So feel free to reach out, and thank you for participating. Heidi?